Collier is in serious hot water after lying on Caitlin Clark on national television.
What was supposed to be a routine all-star player draft, a fun bit of television for the fans, instead detonated a firestorm of controversy that consumed the sports world for days. And at the epicenter of that explosion, as she so often is, was the singular polarizing figure of Caitlin Clark.
The WNBA All-Star Draft was fun between Caitlin Clark and Napheesa Collier, the team captains, picking the players, picking the rosters. But the most interesting aspect was the coach swap, because Clark traded Cheryl Reeve, who was the coach of her team, or was to be the coach of her team, to Collier for Sandy Brondello, the coach of the New York Liberty. Of course, Reeve is Collier's head coach for the Minnesota Lynx, so that makes sense. But the drama is going to come from Reeve having previously been critical on social media about the amount of attention Clark received relative to the rest of the league, not to mention being the coach of Team USA that Caitlin Clark was so famously snubbed from.
On the brightly lit stage, with cameras rolling and the entire nation watching, the rookie phenom appeared to make one of the boldest and most audacious power moves in recent memory. She announced she was trading away her assigned all-star coach, Cheryl Reeve, in a move that felt less like a transaction and more like a public declaration.
Wrong.
I don't know if this is in the rules. I don't really care. But I think we've already discussed we are going to trade coaches. Fee's going to take her coach, Sandy Brondello. Let's get it. Ooh. It's going to be amazing. Sorry, WNBA, if that's not in the rule. Sorry, ESPN, if that's not in the rules. But we just made it a rule. Right, so, Sandy Brondello, come on over. Whoa. Let's get to it. You can coach Sabrina.
Then came the bombshell.
This wasn't just trading away any coach for another. This was Cheryl Reeve, a respected veteran, and more importantly, the very same coach who had been publicly critical of the hype surrounding Clark. She was also the head coach of the Olympic team that had infamously and very publicly left Clark off its roster, creating a narrative of tension that was impossible to ignore.
Incoming.
How do you rate Napheesa's drafting skills for her NBA drafting? And for you, Fee, did you know that Cheryl was going to get traded beforehand, before you and Clark did that, or was that just on the spot when that happened? So first for you, Napheesa.
Oh, I think Fee knows what she wants, so her draft picks were all great. I'm happy that she, got Courtney, she got Cheryl, so the whole Minnesota Lynx gonna be there. So I'm happy about that. So she's a great drafter.
Yeah, watch out. I might be a GM one day. No, I would hate that job. Yes, I texted Caitlin before to ask if we could trade for Cheryl. So yes, it was pre-planned.
In an instant, the internet did what the internet does. It exploded. Social media threads turned into courtrooms. Sports talk shows delivered their hot takes. And a tsunami of accusations about drama, ego, and blatant disrespect flooded every corner of the web. The narrative was simple, powerful, and immediately accepted. Caitlin Clark was settling a score on national television.
Napheesa Collier was on an interview with CBS on a podcast and was asked about what she was most excited about for the coming season. And she said the CBA, not winning a championship, not running it back, but the CBA. And then she was asked a bunch of questions about the CBA, and she acknowledged everybody else except for the one player who's made people notice, and that's Caitlin Clark. A good 15, 20-minute interview, and at no point does she acknowledge that Caitlin Clark is what has given them, or who has given them, the leverage in negotiation, if they have any leverage to begin with. No, instead, she talked about how they have filled up the arenas. She talked about how people are watching on TV. She talked about unrivaled, in fact, her creation. At no point does she mention, Caitlin Clark brought eyes to this product. And now when we walk through an airport, people recognize us. In fact, she said that people now notice them. Why the hell do you think that is? No one knew who the hell you were until Caitlin Clark showed up. This is the non-stop narrative. I mean, man, you thought Napheesa Collier was smart enough to recognize this. But even she is stuck in delusion syndrome. it seems like no one can be helped. Even after Cheryl Miller has told the world, everybody despises Caitlin Clark. They all hate on her. Damn shame.
The fact that Collier refused to part ways with her unrivaled business partner shows she's thinking beyond just basketball. These players have business relationships, endorsement deals, and personal friendships that all factor into their decisions.
But what if the entire story, the one that seems so obvious and true, was completely wrong? What if the drama that captivated millions was nothing more than a carefully constructed illusion? The truth was far more complex, far more strategic, and far more shocking than anyone imagined, because the real architect of this entire affair was not the person standing in the spotlight. To truly grasp why the public was so quick to jump to conclusions, you have to peel back the layers of a story that began long before the All-Star draft. There was a history simmering just beneath the surface, a context of perceived slights and professional friction that set the stage for the explosion to come. The relationship, or lack thereof, between Clark and Reeve was already a topic of conversation. As a veteran coach, Reeve had voiced concerns about the unprecedented media tidal wave focused on Clark, suggesting it overshadowed the league's established stars. To many, it sounded like a gatekeeper wary of a newcomer's shine. The true lightning rod, however, was the 2024 Paris Olympics. Reeve, as the head coach of Team USA, held a position of ultimate authority. Her decision to exclude Clark from the team was seen by millions as a personal and professional snub of the highest order. It made Reeve the face of the establishment that was seemingly holding Clark back. With that history as the backdrop, the public perception was crystal clear. There was bad blood here. A simmering beef existed between the powerful veteran coach and the game-changing young superstar. So, when Clark stood on that all-star stage, it looked like the perfect, dramatic, and inevitable moment for payback. And the moment itself felt tailor-made for television drama. Clark announced the trade not with hesitation, but with an unshakable air of defiance. Her words: "I don't know if this is in the rules. I don't really care. We just made it a rule," were delivered with a confidence that bordered on outright audacity. Those words landed with the force of a bombshell across the league. The message being sent seemed undeniable. A public statement broadcast for all to hear. "I am the new power in this league, and I will not play for Cheryl Reeve." It was seen as an act of open rebellion. The media machine, hungry for a compelling narrative, took this and sprinted. Headlines were written in minutes, framing the event as Clark's shocking snub and Caitlin gets her revenge. Every sports outlet, from podcasts to morning television, began dissecting her tone, her body language, and the hidden meanings behind her bold declaration. In the court of public opinion, the verdict was rendered almost instantly. Social media became a battleground, with critics labeling Clark a diva, accusing her of letting fame go to her head, and attacking her for disrespecting a WNBA legend. The narrative that she was a rogue agent causing chaos was set in stone. But then, at the very height of the controversy, the entire foundation of the story crumbled. It wasn't through a press release or a league statement, but from the one person nobody was even paying attention to, her fellow All-Star captain, Napheesa Collier. During a later interview, when asked if the trade was a surprise, Collier shattered the entire narrative with a few simple, calm words. With a casual smile, she admitted, "Yes, I texted Caitlin before to ask if we could trade for Cheryl, so yes, it was pre-planned." The whiplash from that revelation was immediate. Wait a minute. The whole firestorm, the think pieces, the endless cable news debates, the fan outrage was all based on a complete misunderstanding. Caitlin Clark wasn't the villain initiating a hostile takeover. She was the accomplice, simply granting a prearranged request from a peer. Once you understand that Collier was the true initiator, the entire situation shifts from a messy drama to a stroke of strategic genius. It was never about settling a personal score. It was about loyalty, comfort, and making the smartest possible basketball decision. Napheesa Collier has spent her entire professional career since being drafted in 2019 playing for the Minnesota Lynx. The only head coach she has ever known in the WNBA is Cheryl Reeve. Theirs is a relationship built on years of trust, development, and shared success. Of course, Collier would want her mentor on her sideline for the All-Star game. The move, therefore, wasn't personal at all. It was purely practical. It's the most logical, professional decision imaginable. It's like being a lead actor and choosing to work with a director you have a long and successful history with, rather than taking a gamble on a stranger for a major project. The choice is obvious. This new information completely recast the event as a masterful two-sided maneuver. Napheesa Collier, the quiet veteran, cleverly engineered a way to get exactly what she wanted, her trusted coach, while masterfully sidestepping the inevitable media circus that she knew would follow. She effectively used Caitlin Clark's massive media profile as a shield. She let Clark, a player who was already living under an intense public microscope, absorb all the heat and speculation for a decision that was, in reality, entirely Collier's idea. In return, Clark not only looks like a supportive teammate, but also gets to work with Sandy Brondello, a championship-winning coach. It was a perfect win-win. Collier's awareness of her own puppet mastery was clear. Her follow-up joke, "Watch out, I might be a GM one day," followed by a quick, self-deprecating, "No, I would hate that job," was a subtle wink to the audience. It was a lighthearted admission that she knew exactly how she had played the situation and that she was in complete control the entire time. Ultimately, this entire saga pulls back the curtain on deeper, more fascinating truths about the modern WNBA. It exposes the almost unbelievable media double standard that exists around Caitlin Clark, where her every action is magnified and interpreted through a lens of drama, but it also reveals the incredible and growing power that the league's star players now wield. The fact that the WNBA itself was caught off guard, with insiders reporting that the league had to quickly green-light the player-made trade on the spot, is telling. This wasn't a move that went through official channels. It was a decision made by the players, for the players, proving that they are now in a position to shape the league's reality in real time. So what initially appeared to be a petty dramatic feud was, in fact, a masterclass in behind-the-scenes negotiation and brilliant strategy. Napheesa Collier proved she's not just playing basketball, she's playing chess. While the world was focused on the supposed drama, she was quietly executing a plan that benefited everyone involved. The real story was not about a rivalry, but about a collaboration, leaving us all with one final tantalizing question. Was this all just a happy accident of misreporting, or did two of the league's smartest players orchestrate the controversy itself as the ultimate viral marketing campaign for the All-Star Game?